I'm Denis Wara, Gallery 400's Public Programs Manager, and I'd like to welcome you to our second event centered around the exhibition Young Gifted in Black, the Lumpkin-Boccuzzi Family Collection of Contemporary Art, which is on view until December 11th here at Gallery 400. Before we start, I'd like to call into relation to the land many of us are on today. The broader city of Chicago, named after the Algonquin name for the river whose shores were lined with wild leeks, was and continues to be an indigenous place. Owing to the multiple waterways that converge here, Chicago is the ancestral home of the Three Fires Confederacy, consisting of the Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, in addition to Miami, Illinois, Inuka, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee nations. Today, Chicago has the third largest urban Native population in the United States, with more than 65,000 Native Americans in the greater metropolitan area. The American Indian Center in Albany Park, founded in 1953, in the era of relocation, remains to be the oldest urban Indian center in the country. I hope to not merely acknowledge the land we are upon today as a performative gesture, but also to invite us to call into relation these lands, histories, and nations. They've not ceased to exist. We also acknowledge the significant work Gallery 400 and UIC has yet to do in honoring these relations and rectifying this colonial present with our other struggles. These Americas are built on violence and erasure. And we bring these histories with us, those natives to this land, indigenous people from other territories, as well as white settlers by conquest, and those of us who've come here by force or otherwise as a result of slavery, colonialism, imperialism, and ongoing wars. When we enter any room, even or especially virtual rooms, we must bring these histories into view. And with this knowledge, we meet here in hopes of making a different world. Today, we are joined by Jacolby Satterwhite and digital media scholar Kishonna Gray. Satterwhite will be presenting an abbreviated scope of his practice in the past 10 years, followed by a conversation with Gray and an audience Q&A. Please send your questions via the chat. And as of our upcoming programs here at Gallery 400, we have artist Bethany Collins in conversation with scholar Sampara Aranke on October 7th, and artist Tomashi Jackson and Amanda Williams on October 14th. Additionally, we also have our Voices lecture series, which includes the British filmmaker Onyeka Igwe on October 18th, and Chicago-based curator and writer Tempest Hazel on November 2nd. Please visit our website to register for these virtual events. And with much gratitude, I'd like to welcome Kishonna Gray.
Awesome. Thank you, Denny. I'm excited to be here. I think most of us are huge fans of Jacolby. And when I got the invite, to do this, I was like, y'all mean me? Like Kishonna Gray me? So I'm super honored. Thank you so much. I won't, there's so many accolades and so many things that, we could talk about, with Jacolby's work. So hopefully this introduction does his work justice, but it probably won't. And there's so much stuff that's still missing. Jacolby is celebrated for a conceptual practice addressing crucial themes of labor, consumption, carnality, and fantasy through immersive installation, virtual reality, and digital media. He uses a range of software to produce intricately detailed animations and live action film of real and imagined worlds populated by the avatars of artists and friends. These animations serve as the stage on which the artist synthesizes the multiple disciplines that encompass his practice, namely illustration, performance, painting, sculpture, photography, and writing. Satterwhite draws from an extensive set of references guided by queer theory, modernism, and video game language to challenge conventions of Western art through a personal and political lens. An equally significant influence is that of his late mother, Patricia Satterwhite, whose ethereal vocals and diagrams for visionary household products serve as the source of material within a decidedly complex structure of memory and mythology. Jacolby was born in 1986 in Columbia, South Carolina. He received his BFA from the Maryland Institute College of Arts in Baltimore and his MFA from the University of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Satterwhite's work has been presented in numerous exhibitions and festivals internationally, including most recently at Haus der Kunst Munich, Guangzhou Biennale, Guangzhou, Wexner Center for the Arts, Columbus, Ohio, Fabric Workshop and Museum in Philadelphia, Pioneer Works, New York, Whitechapel Gallery, London, the Museum of Modern Art, New York, the Minneapolis Institute of Art, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, the Foundation Louis Vuitton in Paris, New Museum in New York, the Public Art Fund in New York, the San Francisco Museum of Art, and the Institute of Contemporary Art in Philadelphia. He was awarded the United States Artists Francie Bishop Good and David Horvitz Fellowship in 2016. His work is included in the collections of the Museum of Contemporary Art Kiasma, Helsinki, Museum of Modern Art, New York, the Studio Museum in Harlem, New York, and the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York, among others. And in 2019, Satterwhite collaborated with Solange Knowles on her visual album, When I Get Home. You all please welcome Jacolby. I don't know, I mean, clap, do something. I know we on Zoom, but y'all know what, so let's celebrate Jacolby. Go ahead, take it away. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. That was amazing. Thank you. Well, hi guys. Thank you for joining me today. I guess I'm going to share with you some things. I want to kind of speak to the present. So I'm going to always start with one particular film just to get the foundation ready, and hopefully we can get to like my last two films and also my public artwork that I've been working on recently. So let's get started. I'm going to share this screen. So can I get a green light if you're seeing this video, The Matrix Rhapsody? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'll always start with this film. It's called The Matriarch's Rhapsody. I made it around 2011 or 2012. It's a 45-minute codex that documents my over 250 of my mother's drawings, and three-dimensional renderings of the drawings in the middle, and family photographs that encompass or contain the material culture that is demonstrated or exemplified in the drawings. The story behind the drawings is that my mother, Patricia Satterwhite, started making them when I was a child, around age 5, after my father lost his grocery store. And we went from like upper middle class to like low poverty. And I guess it was kind of like a family crisis that sent my mother down through a mental breakdown, and she started to have insomnia and would watch these paid programs at night, and this QVC and the Home Shopping Network. And on the paid programs, they would always solicit middle Americans to be able to like send off their inventions to get made, and their patents. It was kind of like a scam, like spam, like they you probably would like pay a $50 fee to have your patents looked at, but nothing would really happen. But my mother was obsessed with doing this, and so she started to create these, they were originally like linear and contour drawings with like color and pretty normal and standardized. And these drawings were inspiring to me. I wanted to help her. I really believed that this was happening. It was like she had a delusion of grandeur, that she was a Leonardo da Vinci, an inventor. But that influenced me to learn how to use her crayons and her fabulous, utensils so I can be her apprentice. So eventually, I've realized this drawing practice that she was doing feverishly started to demonstrate and started to show that she was falling into schizophrenia. And when her schizophrenia was diagnosed, the drawings were beginning to become more crystallized and abstract. And I deviated from working with her into becoming my own artist, working in my bedroom, making paintings and playing video games. Eventually, I went to the boarding school to study painting in high school, and I went to undergrad to study painting and graduate school for painting. And then I had a dead end with the medium because I felt like I was too deep in the conversation of like the 400 years of Western painting history. And it was like that history and the kind of religion around painting was weighing down on me too hard. For like, I had much more to say than what that history was like locking me in. So I needed to like break away from that for a while. And I started doing performance art. But then I realized when I went home for Christmas one day, I saw that my mother was still making the drawings from 6 o'clock in the morning to midnight. But what I noticed about the drawings is that from all my education in drawing and painting, I realized her drawings were so nuanced. The line weight was so delicate and it had such extreme range. And she understood space and composition, and the variations were really beautiful. And the language that was being written in the drawings were very poetic and clever, kind of like a Gertrude Stein poem. And I took all the drawings back with me to New York City, or into Baltimore, into New York City, and I started to use the drawings the same way that Fluxus or Dada or Surrealist would use text and drawings in their movements to do performance scores. What was the parallel between being inspired by Fluxus and Dada is that those movements were created to spite painting, because painting at the time in the 30s and 40s was seen as propaganda for war, and painting had a history to create war as a propagandistic tool in the Renaissance. And even thousands of years ago, paintings were made for the illiterate to kind of brainwash them to do things in the sake of religion. And so since I was having my own personal, antagonism with it, I thought, why not use these drawings as these scores to help me move things forward? I started to so eventually I realized that I was doing these very manual, banal performances with a Walmart point and shoot camera, responding to the drawings, but I didn't realize I didn't have a breakthrough with the drawings until I went to Skowhegan School for Painting and Sculpture, and I started to toy around with After Effects and digital animation software, teaching myself the software. And when I got back to grad school, I realized there was a process I learned while teaching myself animation called rotoscoping, and also using the Wacom stylus pen to trace film stills or drawings. Eventually I realized I could trace the lines of my mother's drawings, no matter what the weight of the line was, and I could use the lines and extrude them into these pipe-like forms and build them out into three-dimensional forms. And I can create basically a object data bank to composite into these worlds and create my own Hieronymus Bosch or Peter Paul Rubens like landscape. And this is what led to me making a film called Country Ball. Oh shoot. Oh no. Sorry. We're having some issues. So the video that you're looking at right now is called Country Ball, 1989-2012. I became interested in this home footage because it's early documentation of my queer behavior as a as a 3-year-old homosexual. I had it shows that I had a gender performance preference that was aligned with my female cousins, and my family was constantly pulling me away from them to align with my male's gender performance. And it was just an early document of that. But then when I began to look at the video closer, I started to realize that this video matched all of my research with, I was reading Robert Farris Thompson's Flash of the Spirit a lot and researching Nigerian Gala Masquerade performance history. And one thing I found that this aligned with that was that this video was a documentation of my family celebrating Mother's Day with the cookout in Sesquick Park in Columbia, South Carolina. And what I saw in this is that, with the Gala Masquerade performance, they worship the Queen Mother and use a postmodern sculptural and an interdisciplinary sculptural practice that involves dance and headdresses and costuming, and the headdresses are usually influenced by things that are in their surroundings or things that are seen, or technological advances that are probably seen from a distance, like airplanes coming above them, and they'll make the airplane headdress, and it kind of had this sort of similar kind of animism, and it's had a similar kind of like structure the way my mother was making drawings, and the fact that they were worshiping the Queen Mother in this practice, it felt like there was just a conceptual parallel and alignment that I should focus on. That's what I saw into this video. And then eventually I like really pared it down and realized that these all the objects that my mother obsesses over are in videos like this, and in the family photographs. Like, my mother drew recreational material culture. She drew plates and aluminum foil and KFC buckets and cars and clothing and spoons and, you know, things that are pretty much like ordinary things, but like things that like constellate the perfect suburban household. And so I decided to examine this video and find 35 drawings from my mother's databank that I three-dimensionalized, and I would composite them into this world, and I would sew costumes that have the same color palette as these children and my family members, and I would basically wear the costumes and dance in front of the green screen over like 35 to 50 times, and then composite that into this world to reanimate and to have agency over that memory and that experience. And so what you notice in the beginning of this video is really kind of like this boring, banal folly of like dance that just has no kind of narrative. But as we move forward to scenes like this, we get into this carousel. They start to destabilize, which I find to be really compelling. So I wouldn't say that this video is about the decline of capitalism in the Black family, the decline of the Black family, the decline of the Black family underneath the dark web of capitalism, but you can say that. So maybe we can say that, or maybe not, I don't know. But what you will see is that like, I end up burning down this American dream thing. The landscape starts to disintegrate, and it continues to like dissolve into an abstraction of what it formerly was. And so as we move forward to the end of the video, like what's interesting about this video is that like, I was able to repurpose things like drawings of my mother's cakes, and they become skyscrapers. So there's a weird phenomenology and animism play here with objects and the figure, and I think that's really fantastic. But at the end of the video, this giant figure that looks like it's from Gulliver's Travels, this giant figure is kind of consuming the space, like the space crashes in on itself and the figure is like eating it. But then at the end of the video, you end up going inside of its belly, and it's the constellation of the family camcorder footage on the right that I spent 30 days rotoscoping that camcorder footage to make this constellation drawing, which I find to be super elegant. And I really enjoyed that reward. All right. So, so then I started to, so after, you know, later on, I got invited to be in the, wait, are we, sorry. So later on, I got invited to be in the Whitney Biennial, and around that time, I was on the 6th chapter of a newer series called Reifying Desire. So Reifying Desire is only 6 chapters. I finished the final chapter in 2014 when I was invited to be in the Whitney Biennial. And the way and the whole premise of Reifying Desire is that each chapter was revolving around a gestation cycle, like birth, giving birth. And not because it had a great pun with my mother, you know, being the matrilineal focus of my work, but it was because, you know, like when you take animation classes at CalArts or at SVA or any school, you usually start by making these little chapbooks, these flip books, drawing a plant growing out the ground, or a seed, or an egg hatching, or a figure running. And it's always like a cycle of birth. Maybe destruction too, but birth. And I just thought maybe if I'm going to teach myself how to hone in my skills with animation over 6 chapters of a video series, I should probably focus on that, because I wanted to move away from the family stuff and focus on something more broad so I can get more conceptual things in. And so by the time I got to Reifying Desire 6, it was 2014, and I wanted to do something big for the Whitney Biennial. And around 2014, I was intrigued by all of the hysteria around this new drug called Truvada, which was really popular in the gay community because it's a drug that helps you, prevents you from contracting HIV during sex. And I was also reading a lot of gay tabloids and gay websites writing about this popular porn star at the time, Antonio Biaggi, who used to do bareback porn. And at that time, bareback porn was super taboo because of the stigma of HIV and AIDS. And he was seen as someone popularizing bareback sex and making it look fashionable, and they were kind of vilifying him for it. So having Truvada come out and having him be on the scene, I decided I wanted to cast him in Reifying Desire 6 as my sexual partner who would basically have sex with me and breathe me, impregnate me, and I would have his child at the end, which was a population of little mini cyborgs, which is funny in the video. Also in the video, formerly it was a video that I did a lot of live action shooting in New York City, and I, you know, edited back and forth between 3D animation and the New York City landscape, because I was thinking about animation as an observational practice in the same way that if you go into the landscape and paint from observation, I start thinking about how can you do an en plein air kind of painting style with animation. So a lot of the CGI scenes are influenced by the New York landscape, and you'll see those back and forth things within the jump cuts of the animation. So I'm going to begin playing this video. eventually the egg happens and yes, it gives birth. All right, so moving on. So I'm going to illustrate so we are now. Okay. So after the biennial happened, San Francisco Museum of Modern Art offered me a 2-year-long commission to do this thing called a performance in progress residency, where basically I developed a body of work around a performance for over 2 years. And I decided to do a dream project I've been wanting to do my entire life. Well, not my entire life, but once I realized I was working with the archive that I was working with, which was work with my mother's audio cassette tapes. So along with the drawings, can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, you're all good.
Okay, good. Yeah, sorry. Along with the audio, because my mother also, she created over 150 to 200 acapellas in the mental hospital and at home, singing these American folk songs that she will write and record herself. Like they were original songs that were inspired by gospel, R&B, new age, and experimental music. She would use her pencil and her thigh as a metronome, and they were really raw and amazing. I was embarrassed to buy them when I was a kid, but when, of course, as an adult, I realized this was very raw, punk, and really cool. But I didn't have the musical talent at the time to do it in 2008 when I originally wanted to do it. And so now that I got versed in more digital technology, I was ready for the project. I teamed up with my friend Nick Weiss from Teen Girl Fantasy, an electronic music group. And I, gave him a lot of the budget money to become my permanent partner for 2 years. And we become best friends. And we basically worked together for 7 hours a day to he taught me a lot about synthesizers and Ableton Live and Pro Tools and how to really, really, develop, I guess how to really develop really solid instrumentals. So we worked together. The thing about making this project is that sometimes so basically I was going to make a virtual reality visual album. I wanted to make an hour and 10 to 15 minute long virtual reality project that was scored by a trip hop and electronic dance music record with the lyrics and vocals from my mother. The sonic soundscape was influenced by the video production, and the video production was influenced by our sessions in the studio. It was very organic and very synesthetic. I basically, sometimes I would work with Nick for 7 hours producing this kind of I want to make this cold, atmospheric sound. I would pick the certain kind of visuals that I was creating and figure out how to translate them into these sonic soundscapes. And we would find synths that would go with this video through looking through the palette on the many machines that we had. And hold on for 1 second. Sorry about that. And we would, sometimes I would go back home and I would listen to our demos while animating and creating the space, and the music would influence how I would, create the CGI landscape and the narrative of the CGI film or the chapter that I was creating based on the song. If the song was called We Are in Hell and we'd heard each other and I would make this soundscape, it would really influence how I was building the narrative visually. And sometimes I spend a whole weekend building the visuals. And I would, try to find synths that would go well with that. So anyway, the way I picked out the 14 tracks from the acapellas was I used, my mother wrote about songs from all kinds of themes, from heartbreak to love to I don't know. Just a very wide range of topics. And basically I picked out just, instinctively, I picked 14 tracks and built a narrative around those 14 tracks that kind of could reflect on current politics of the times that I was trying to make forth about and explore. And so in a way, I'm not making things that are sentimental to her or her lyrics. They're just an armature for things that I'm trying to address politically or conceptually now. And so I'm about to share with you We Are in Hell When We Hurt Each Other, which is a video I made thanks to the help of Bernard, actually, I made it for my solo show at Michelin's and Nash Gallery last year in 2020. This was the fifth chapter of the series. And then after I finished We Are in Hell, I made Shrines, which is the final and last chapter. So both We Are in Hell and We Hurt Each Other and Shrines have been traveling all over Europe this year. They premiered in Europe, and Shrines premiered worldwide in Europe at the Gwangju Biennial in South Korea. And then it traveled to Haus de Kunst for a big show, one of the biggest shows I've ever had, from June to January. So from June to October, they're showing We Are in Hell, and from October to January, they're showing Shrines. So that's like the European premiere for Shrines. And then at the Athens Biennial right now, We Are in Hell, We Hurt Each Other, and Shrines are showing in 2 different spaces. And then at the Studio Museum in Harlem show in November, I'm going to premiere Shrines along with, I'm making 15 paintings that are based on Shrines. So Shrines will have its own painting installation with the VR version. Blah, blah, blah. So basically, I'm going to just share that, a little preview of, oh, and let me also tell you about the creation of We Are in Hell, the concept. I was making it during the height of the pandemic lockdown, and in the middle of the whole George Floyd moment with racial tension uprising, and right after Breonna Taylor, and I was just really stressed and uncertain about the state of the art world and where things were going. And it was really hard for me to focus and make anything other than about what was going on in the world. And the only thing I could think to do was to create this alternate dystopian film where the only figure that had complete agency and autonomy in the world was the Black female. I wanted to create this utopia for the Black female where she was immune to any kind of adverse object coming her way. And in a film, you will see, all kinds of, biological threats and bullets and weird, organic, strange things flying at this Black female figure constantly as she evolves into her maximal self. And she's constantly resistant and breaking things and shattering them apart. And then at the end of the video, the camera pans out to a floral garden shrine for Breonna Taylor. So I'm going to share with you this, and then I'm going to share Shrines, and that will be the end of the talk.
We are in hell when we fail to exist. We are in hell when we
Is the video playing?
Hands at risk.
Yes.
We are in hell when we break others down. We are in hell when we make others laugh. When we see the truth, we'll all be free. The truth in the world will set us free. I heard me, you heard you. I heard me, I heard myself. If you heard me, you heard you. Heard yourself. We all heard me, you heard you, heard yourself. We all in hell when we hurt each other so.
just fast forward to.
Honey, you will be at home. Honey, baby, you will be at home. You will be at home. You will be at home, not alone. Honey, baby, you're at home. You're not alone. You're at home. Honey, baby, you're at home. You're not alone. You're not alone. Honey, baby, you're at home. You're not alone. You're at home. Honey, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're at home. I don't wanna go back. To where I used to be. I will never be again. To all of those lives I've seen. To a world where lives are the same. And there's no difference, you see. I'll never go back. I'll never go back. I'll never go back. Never go. Never go back. 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 I'll never go.
Okay, so now I'm going to share the final video for Shrines, which you'll be seeing in the upcoming Studio Museum show at PS1 in November. It's currently at the Athens Biennial and Hofstrakunst.
I'm gonna dish you right now.
hurt me, you hurt you, you hurt yourself. We all hurt me, you hurt you, you hurt yourself. We all in hell when we hurt each other so.
Okay, so how do you quit the sharing session? All right, that's all I'm giving today.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I was taking so many notes. Like, so round of applause, like amazing stuff.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that the folks who are in here, remember that you can submit questions. But first, I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna take my time because I can just talk one-on-one with you, Jacolby. Now I know I was starting to put notes like in there, and then I was just, I was watching and like, kind of just put notes like on my end. One of the things that I think that was like a constant theme that seemed to pervade your work was like the devices, like mobile devices, like technologies. I wonder if you could speak a little bit to like the like your usage of technologies, but also like their location on the body, because I'm thinking about when we, just the one that we saw just now, shrines, there were like a couple placements of like technologies, like the screens that were like on the bodies, and previous, I think there was like a phallic usage of like, like the device in some of the scenes, like, in the trees, up in like in the branches. Can you speak a little bit to that, like what inspires you to like use like devices in that way, and like maybe some of the larger meanings and implications that we could draw from that?
I think there is a subconscious hybridization of the technologies as orifices that kind of like are placed on, I guess, the regions of reproduction on primal carnality. And I think that's because I have this really, I have this major obsession with, I have a major obsession with how like social media, iPhones, and these technologies are being used to kind of like pivot and puppeteer the world. I constantly am talking about the KGB in Russia and Cambridge Analytica and data mining as a new kind of Cold War weapon that is used for social manipulation, how it influenced the election in 2016, and how it influences like divisiveness in third world countries and in our own, how people kind of like all these artificial intelligence robots can streamline misinformation that creates wars between two different social groups and like basically plant seeds to control our minds and make us follow trends and do things to compromise our democracies and our countries. And so how we're like basically living in a world where we're at war with the weapon of misinformation. That's probably why. I mean, because technology is the ultimate like theme of our next Cold War. And I don't know, it's definitely just like we are living cyborg. We are proto cyborgs, you know. So that's probably what it is too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's fantastic. As I was watching, I often, I was thinking about like our consumption culture, and there was one scene in particular where there seemed to be a lot of phone overlays. It was like the scene. I'm sorry, I can't remember which video. I'm so sorry, but there was also like the train that was kind of like running, like in the
Oh yeah, it was
background.
like a uterus. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Speak more to that. There was a lot of, and also, I'm even thinking there was another, a couple showings of like the uterus that was there, the fallopian tubes. Like, speak a little bit to that. I was fascinated by that.
Well, it
Speak
was
some to that.
because, well, it was the there was it is it's a meta narrative and it's multi-layered. Partly because the film is it's like the armature of the film is guided by a matrilineal voice, which is my mother. And I told you that the theme of all the Reifying Desire films were gestation cycles. And since and Reifying Desire 6 was watching an active gestation cycle between me and this bareback porn star, impregnating me to give birth to this new society. So you're kind of like watching like an infographic of that mating process. And so I was using all kinds of things between anthropomorphizing the landscape as a uterus and anthropomorphizing the body as like this like infographic of a gestation cycle. It was just more so like adding to the humor of what you were watching, which is like you're watching a birth cycle.
I love it so much. How do you feel? Like, I don't know if this is how you feel, but this is how I feel. I feel like, you have really influenced an entire like genre of, like Black queer aesthetics and like popular culture. I think, I'll go ahead and invoke, Lil Nas X, here like in this moment. I'm like, whenever I saw that stuff, I'm like, that's Jacolby's work. I mean, and not, I mean, we of course, like
Yeah,
folks
yeah,
can be inspired in many ways.
yeah.
What's your thoughts and what's your take on that, and especially with how much you've influenced like that landscape?
Yeah, it's really flattering. I mean, it's inevitable when you work in the fine arts world. If you show in enough institutions, art directors are going to go to these shows and see things and be influenced. But there was a few times where I was supposed to work with him behind the scenes. Like there was this time, like last November, I was going to do this major issue for Official magazine, where we were going to basically I was going to shoot a celebrity in this they were going to shoot me working with the celebrity in the studio for an editorial campaign, and they were going to release 4 episodes of the process of us working together. And Lil Nas X was supposed to be the person I was supposed to work with. And they reached out to Lil Nas X and showed him my stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I'd love to do it." And then they got the budget for it, and it was so little I could not afford to go to LA with all the stuff I had to do that. It was like $7,000 for the budget, and I was like, I need more to do this because it's a lot. So we didn't go through with the project, but afterwards Montero came out and I was like, well, that's interesting. The Solange thing with this, I see things and I see the album cover and I could see that Reifying Desire 6 death. I can see that, but it's going to happen. They're not copying. It's not exactly how I would want to present myself. Like, it's not how I think when people like imitate you, they take the parts from you that you don't like the most or that you want to get rid of. And there's a lot of like misunderstandings. Like, that's not what I'm going for. But it's flattering, they could have reached out to me too.
Yeah,
I would have made it look great,
absolutely.
made it I would have made it more cool.
Abs-
Yeah.
I know that's real. I know that's real. So, you've worked, you've mentioned, of course, your work with Solange and, this work like with Lil Nas X. Like, are there other, what are some of your future, like collaborative, like kinds of projects like look like?
Um,
If you can speak to any of that.
I was supposed to do something with an artist who guess I can say it. Well, I don't know. I was supposed to do something with Perfume Genius, which is a really cool artist. We didn't. I've been so busy because I've been working on a permanent public artwork for the Cleveland Clinic and the Front Triangle, which I just finished. Well, I'm almost finished. And we'll be cutting the ribbon for this piece in October 7th, which this is sort of a major deviation from my normal work because I'm collaborating with 105 Black citizens in Fairfax, Ohio. It's really great. It's really cool. I'm also working on this project with the Studio Museum, this show, this artist in residency show, which I'm excited about. I think I'm most excited about that show more than anything I've done. I also mounted, a 12-year survey exhibition at Carnegie Mellon University. It's 3 floors. And along with that, I launched my monograph, which is 260 pages that shows, my work from 2009 to now. But as of next year, I'm, in discussions with doing some big things. I haven't been talking to any other, I haven't talked to any other like music celebrities for a work other than Perfume Genius, but I'm sure something will be coming down soon. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Is there a dream project, like a dream artist, a dream landscape, a dream museum that you would love to partner with or work with, or you would love to see like your space, like your work there?
Well, a musician, Bjork, because that's like who started it all for me. I love it. I've been obsessed with her since I was like 9 years old, and I'm 35. So she's kind of like my god or something. And I've been thinking about Tricky. Tricky has inspired a lot of my practice too, and actually inspired the name of my painting series, which is Angels with Dirty Faces. Museums, I would love to go to the Venice Biennale. I don't know. There's so many dreams I still have.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of dreams, I'm not sure of like, the audience of folks who are here. I haven't like gone through like the participants, but I can, imagine that there are like some up and coming like artist folks like who are in the space. I know you gave a little bit of like, your origins and where you were inspired and, who inspired you. And is there like, what would be like some advice that you would like offer, up and coming artists or people who are already there who are maybe intimidated by certain mediums or intimidated by certain things, because like the thing I love about your work is, I'm like, we gonna see some fucking in here, and it makes me happy that that's right up my alley, So like, what would be, because some people might shy away from that, what would be some of like your advice like to folks?
I would say that like I think being willing to embarrass yourself is the key to success. And I think like, the art of compromise, the art of like, I think that it's like sometimes you have to tell yourself a lie until it becomes the truth. Sometimes you have to be willing to, I think like if you're not feeling embarrassed or like a little bit afraid, then you're not moving forward. Sometimes I think I think innovation comes from building tensions between what's seen by society as wrong, and you using your skills and intellect to massage the wrong to a right, whether it's a bad color coordination or people don't see like this as art, so you kind of figure out ways that you can like work with this material until it forges itself into something poignant. I usually like find myself gravitating to things that are not attractive to the institution. Like, right now I've been obsessed with painting people with pathologies with smiles that are like influenced by like substance abuse. Or I've been inspired by, I'm inspired by like things that have that little bit go that are like 44 degrees, not 45 degrees, and I think sometimes it's just like do what there's Jasper John said that there's no such thing as a bad idea, it's about execution. So you have to always remember that, and you just do what you want to do.
I love that so much. Whenever I was like looking through, are we okay for time? Because I'm gonna just keep talking. I don't want like y'all. Somebody stop me if I'm doing the most. But always I'm thinking about like some of the themes that are central through your work. Queer centrality. Like a focus on mental health, mental illness, mental well-being, physical well-being. Are there certain things that whenever you're doing some of these installations or working on like a new piece, are there some things like like I gotta put that in here, or does it kind of happen just like organically, like what's like your flow and what's like your process of like creation?
it's part organic and part planned. There, I mean, a lot of things. Some things do arrive very late. I try to not think too much about the detail. I usually I like to operate from stream of consciousness and randomness. Sometimes I'll subconsciously, I'll like rapidly pick 5 things to like focus on and then use them as like Rorschach tests to figure out what's happening in my mind subconsciously to tie them in. Like I build the meaning as I kind of like build meaning from a randomization kind of strategy. Like with my paintings, I picked images from my gut, and as I was molding them, I found out what the subconscious meaning of them in, which has influenced me to pick the other images in a much more thoughtful and intellectual way. And then a body of work developed somehow, and my installation strategy around that body of work developed somehow. It's the same thing I do with making the film. It's like I use automatic writing and surrealist writing processes and like mood boarding processes to help me find meaning in a very like organic way.
I love that. When you were, when I've looked through, like your works and, I hear you talking, you're using a lot of mediums and materials like at the same time. And I'm no artist, all right? But like for me, is that, I don't want to say like, is it overwhelming or is it like, are there like, like a top 3 that you like go to and then you're like, oh, I need to add some of this, like help, like for like a layperson like myself, like describe for me like your process of adding pieces, of adding things, and how, like you have, I saw 3D there, neon, like light, sound, visual, like all that stuff is like happening, right? And I'll say that's very much like a break from what I might just go see like in a museum, like a very Western like approach. Does that make sense? Like what I'm asking?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's because my practice is oriented, or is like, the objecthood is around my identity. I mean, I'm very inspired by artists like Bruce Nauman and Anna Mendieta and Joseph Beuys, who are like, post-structuralist performance artists coming out the 60s when identity and like, I guess the self was like the nucleus for all objects and artifacts, and the residue came from like this, the artist was the central medium. And so I think like I am the central medium and I'm producing these neons and these films and these paintings, and they're all just basically like coming out of like the nucleus of production, which is myself, which I'm thinking about myself as a rhizome of queer identity and thought and Black thought and human thought. And I think like, I don't necessarily have a hierarchy for the mediums. My favorite mediums to work in are 3D animation and painting. I like the sculpture stuff. I like the neons are for more so like footnotes for major themes. But like I really enjoy painting and I really enjoy 3D animation and filmmaking and virtual reality. And I like sculpture. And it's funny because I'm teaching at Yale MFA sculpture this fall for, so,
how's that going? Like you just gonna just drop that awesomeness in there, like, oh yeah, I'm teaching at Yale MFA.
Well,
how's that going?
But it's funny. It's funny because like I'm like, the sculpture is like, I love sculpture, but I feel like it's funny because a lot of my challenges come with like physical large objects in space. But how's it going? I do my first critic position thing there on the 27th, and I go there for 6-7 times this semester. It's going good. I guess it's gonna go good. I've been visiting them for 5 years, like sculpture and painting, and I always love it. So I already know what it's gonna be like, and it's always good. It's always wonderful. And yeah.
Awesome. I love that. I'm not sure if there are questions there, but I want to make sure just to that folks know that you can either put questions in the chat, or if anybody wanted to just unmute themselves and chime into the conversation, please feel free to do so. I get the last question that I have for you, Jacolby, is these kinds of things, seem to be, these your creations seem to be so intense and so intentional and purposeful. And I wonder, I do they bring you joy? Is it work? Is it a chore? Is it a labor, or like a labor of love? And then with that said, I guess I also want to know, like, what do you do for fun, or is this your fun?
Yeah. Oh, sometimes it's amazing and really fun, and sometimes it was hell. Sometimes it's like prison, and I want a real life. The thing is, it's 95% of my life. Like, I barely do anything else. And which is why I guess like going out in nightlife seems to be my outlet, because I usually work from 10 in the morning, 9 in the morning to like 11 at 12 at night. And then like the time for me to socialize, because I can't sleep, I'll probably go to a bar or a club and hang out with friends there. But like not, and as I'm getting older, I'm doing less of that. Like I barely, so now it's like, you know, I'm starting, because of my new living situation, I really like love my studio practice now, because I live in a bigger space, and my painting studio's downstairs, my digital studio's upstairs, and I live with two people who are really wonderful, two gay guys. And so like, I feel like I'm having much more an organic and fluid life that's flowing. But for fun, I really, really have a hard time being able to go see shows and like I used to, because of the fact that I'm taking on so many projects. Like I'm, balancing 5 projects at a time, and pretty much like all I do is make art. That's why I overslept for this rehearsal this morning. I was working till 5 in the morning. But it's become really, really difficult. And I really want to make some free time for myself next year, because it's going to drive me crazy. Sometimes I really do feel like I resent it. I'm saddened by the fact that like I can't take a vacation. Like I took a vacation this summer to go to Fire Island for 5 days, and then I got COVID, even though I had a vaccine. And like then I lost the entire month of July to get work done, and was behind in August. So yeah, sometimes it feels like a prison, but I'm grateful for the prison, because I would love that I get to sort of live off of making my art. That's what I always wanted, but it's the only thing that I'm doing.
Well, hopefully there's fun in your future soon. Any
Yeah.
last thoughts?
I'm having fun. No,
Okay,
but
good.
sometimes it's fun. I really enjoy I really, really enjoy what I do. I enjoy it so much, but then like I do need to, I'm getting older. So
Yes.
I need to, I need to take advantage of certain experiences before they're too late.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts? Anything you'd like to share with these lovely humans who have came to see you?
No.
Awesome. Denny, I will send it over to you. Thank you for talking to me, Jacolby. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. You are. You are. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacolby. Thank you, Kishonna, for moderating that. That was a fantastic presentation of all your work. It was great seeing Reifying Desire 6, and also your other most recent works. That was really a treat.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was really a treat for all of us, I'll say.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, since we don't have any more questions, well, applause. Since we don't have any more questions, we'll call it a night. Thank you, Jacolby. Again, thank you, Kishonna. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you.
Of course. And we'll see you next time on October 7th for our other program.
All right, bye.
Thank you, Jacolby. Thank you,
Thank
Kishonna.
you. Bye.
Great.